19,000 alumni with a 90% placement rate, an average salary of
50%, 50, of the students joining KEDGE are saying,
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to have you all in this session today. It's something that's really close to our heart. We have Alex over here, who is the CEO of KEDGE. KEDGE Business School is a 55th rank business school on Financial Times, a triple accredited business school, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Before we start, Alex, why don't we give you a small introduction? Why don't you give us a small introduction of yours along with KEDGE and what the school stands for?
Yeah, sure. The school KEDGE was founded about 13 years ago. It's actually the merger of two schools, two business schools in France. One was based in Bordeaux, the other one in Marseille. And the two schools were actually way older than, the 13 years because they were created at the end of the 19th century.
That was a shock to me also.
Yeah, 1872 for one, 1874 for the other one. Today, we welcome about 15,000 students in about 35 different programs. So it's essentially management, but we do have design as well. And you said it, we are ranked in the top 50 of the FT. We are also ranked within the top 10 of French business schools. We're triple accredited, as you say. So that makes us part of the 1% of all business schools in the world, which are triple accredited. The 130 business schools out of 13,000 business schools that are triple accredited.
Or like how I'd like to put it, the envy of most Indian business schools, because apart from a select 2 or 3, none of us in this ecosystem have been able to make it there.
Until now.
Until now.
Right.
Until now. So that's very interesting. I think for the people watching this, we have recently partnered with KEDGE Business School as part of JAGSoM and Vijaybhoomi University in multiple ways. And one of the questions that a lot of people ask us is why did we build this partnership? Why KEDGE? So I'm going to turn that question around to you, Alex, right? This is important to you. It's a big step for a school like KEDGE to be getting into the continent, right? Choosing a partner must definitely be a big consideration. You must have thought about it really carefully. So I think out of curiosity, why did KEDGE choose JAGSoM? Why us?
Yeah.
What did you see in us?
I'll start with why KEDGE chose India, right? Because we're already international. We have operations already in China. We have operations in Africa. And it was obvious to us that India was a place where we wanted also to offer the way we educate and the way we actually teach to Indian students. There is a high demand in India, massive actually. The number of students is going to double. This is the plan of the NEP. Maybe not enough offer, so we wanted to be part of it. And we searched for a partner. And some relationships we have introduced us to you, JAGSoM Vijaybhoomi, actually to the son of the founder of JAGSoM, right? Sanjay Padode, who you know well.
Absolutely.
And there was immediately a good fit. And I think the first fit I always check with partners is values. And we have common values. We have common values on commitment. We have common values on high standards we want to set. Common values on openness, common values on humility as well. And that was very important to us. And then what I like about the partnership with Vijaybhoomi is that Vijaybhoomi is a private university with a lot of agility. We looked at, how Vijaybhoomi was considered overall in the Indian market, but not just the Indian market, also the worldwide market. So first, there is a good ranking of Vijaybhoomi within the private business schools in India. Second, there is an accreditation that you got a few years ago, AACSB.
That would be JAGSoM.
That'd be JAGSoM, but
absolutely.
Within JAGSoM, within Vijaybhoomi, there is
within
JAGSoM.
The same ecosystem,
right?
Absolutely.
Within the same ecosystem. And that was important to us. And actually, behind the idea of a private university as well, there is a family, again, sharing the same values. There is agility. There is ambition. There is this openness to going abroad and search for a partner as well. All of that made it very obvious to us. And then I came here in Karjat, where we are today on the campus of Vijaybhoomi. I was impressed by the place. I was impressed by the environment. There is something so special here that sort of confirmed our choice to sign that partnership with you guys.
So you see, I'm going to deviate a little bit over here. I remember when I traveled to Marseille sometime last year when I met you and Santiago. And one of the things that struck me about KEDGE was just, I thought it was a very forward-looking school, grounded in values. And it's amazing that you say, this whole point about values, because I studied in the U.S. and this might be a very overarching statement that I'm making, but the kind of warmth that I felt when I was in France on KEDGE's campus talking to you and the rest of the team, I did not feel in my 4 years of undergraduate education in the US. I do feel like there's a lot of similarity in the way we think about things there. There's a lot of emphasis on people and culture and legacy, which might not necessarily carry forward in the US, or the way I perceived it. I shouldn't probably, kind of generalize on that. I think something that really kind of struck a chord with me when I was at KEDGE was just the energy that I felt on campus, the kind of students, even the way you painted campus, right? Was very interesting. It was just very, very interesting to talk to some of your students over there and see how they're doing things. Just a very blanket question. What do you think, what makes KEDGE special? Like, if you were to say 5 things and what makes KEDGE special, what would you say those are?
I'd say, from a pedagogy standpoint, we truly believe that you learn better by doing. So our pedagogy is really a learning by doing pedagogy. So most of our students did go very often on internships, sometimes apprenticeships as well. So we've got 3,000 students that are on apprenticeships. So that means they are 3 weeks at the company, and the 4th week they come on the campus, and then they rotate. We get our students to work a lot in groups and to deliver real cases and to work on real company cases that companies bring to us. So that learning by doing is really important. The second thing I'd say is our proximity to the students. You were just mentioning that earlier. We do care. Okay, our students are very valuable to us, and we want them to feel good and to have an experience which will be memorable, and that they will keep all their life long. So that's the second thing. The third thing is academic excellence. We put a lot of energy, a lot of resources into ensuring our full-time professors. We've got a faculty of 250 full-time professors that they keep doing their research because the research would feed the teaching. They keep doing the research because the research will actually help create an academic network worldwide, and also help creating a network with businesses who are looking for outputs from research. So academic excellence is certainly another characteristic of KEDGE. And then the internationalization of the school. So every year we hire about 5,000 students. 1,000 of them are from international. Then we welcome another 2,500 every year on exchanges. 50% of the faculty is international. And as I said, we have operations abroad.
I mean, these numbers are crazy. I mean, you say them like they're so small, but the amount of international kids you get and the amount of people that you have on exchange is just amazing to see so many people.
But when you think about, how many young girls and young boys, 17, 18 years old, are willing to pursue after school, after high school, and can't, because very often the infrastructure is not there, the higher education organization is not there. When you think globally and worldwide, these numbers that I just quoted for KEDGE are actually small compared to the existing demand, right?
Actually, there are places in India itself that intake, you've got 60,000 kids, 100,000 kids, 150,000 kids. ASU is another example in the US that has enormous, but it's still amazing to know that in France, like across your campuses, you have so much going on. And I would assume most of the people, at least in our country, don't even know about this, that there's so many immigrants coming in, there's so many learners coming in, there's this much exchange.
And that's why we're here. Okay, so I can talk about what we do at KEDGE, and also what we want to build is a KEDGE presence in India, because we believe that we have now a brand which can be, exported, that can actually talk to Indian younger generations, And that's why we've signed this partnership with you guys. And that's why we are organizing ourselves to actually settle a presence here and become more and more attractive.
All right, Alex. So, thanks for telling us a bit more about KEDGE. I think all that talk about KEDGE brings us to our next question today, which is why India? And I'll elaborate a bit on this. And what can KEDGE add to the Indian ecosystem? So as of today, we have an enormous amount of management programs that happen. About 500,000 students every year are looking for a management degree. A lot more when it comes in the undergraduate space. Very competitive environment, many players over here. I'd love to know your thoughts on what is it that you think a KEDGE education can add to this country, and also people who are doing programs along the lines of a year in India, a year in KEDGE. What are some of the synergies that you see over there that a KEDGE can bring in?
Well, some dynamics that I see, maybe, think differently from what might seem like more obvious. So for an Indian young guy going to the UK, going to Australia, going to Canada, that sounds like obvious. So France would be a different choice. And what I believe as well is that there is more and more connections between India and France from a business standpoint as well.
Yeah.
So more French companies coming to India to do business, to participate in the development of India, meaning that they are implementing some French subsidiaries here. And they're going to be jobs within these French subsidiaries. How to best get to these new companies settling into India, get a French education, and actually get an Indian French education. Because with our programs here, the idea is that the students will get 2 degrees, the Indian degree, a French degree. So they'll come to France, they'll do 1 year in India, they'll come to France, do the second year of their master's in France, get specialized in some of our expertise, French expertise, but also KEDGE expertise, like supply chain, like luxury management, like sports management. And then they come back to India and they deploy, all what they've learned, their skills, their competencies within French companies here, or even Indian companies that are settling in France as well. Because when you do business together as 2 countries, you cross-fertilize. So you'd have Indian business going into France as well. So I think, this is developing fast and there is an opportunity there. And also, again, talking about our expertises, when you think globally, the supply chain, for example, is becoming more and more prominent in companies. Absolutely. As a strategic function.
Even if you look at the geopolitical situation. Absolutely. As of now, everybody's scrambling to reset the supply chains that they had. Correct. Based on a tariff war happening.
And at KEDGE, one strength we have is that we have the best professors on supply chain in France, Europe, and certainly for some of them worldwide. Our programs there, our masters in supply chain, in maritime transport and logistics, for example, they are amongst the best in the world when you come to master's level. So this is why I believe, there are great opportunities, massive opportunities for Indian students to come study in France and study at KEDGE.
Apart from the fact that also there was a statistic I just saw a while ago where it said that France actually has an enormous amount of job opportunity in the AI space.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of vacancies over there. And it kind of blew my mind because you would usually attribute something like that to the US,
yes,
being the tech hub. But then when you see something like France saying that, actually we have a lot of vacancies.
So the reality with AI is that an overall, as well, engineer and tech is that we lack resources in France. So there are massive opportunities in these areas as well.
So that's a very important point to note for everyone here. France is looking for engineers. France is looking for AI people. Extremely important.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of people actually get that. That's not out there in the light today. And what do you think about the undergraduate space with your presence in India, with you coming down to Vijaybhoomi, operating from here? We just launched your first set of BBA kids.
Yeah, we've launched the first cohort this year.
Absolutely.
It's going to be very successful. The first thing is that there is, there are so many high school youngsters that are coming into the higher education world that we can be selective. And I think that Vijaybhoomi has that, kind of strength of being able to be selective. So what I've seen so far, and I met with the students this morning, is the level they have is quite impressive. And this is great because I think they fit exactly what we need and what we want for that program. So we've deployed the BBA here in India. It's a copycat of what we're doing in France. And the opportunity for these students is that they can do 2 years here in India. They can choose to stay, and they'll get the Indian degree, which is approved by the Ministry of Education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they can choose to come to France and finish the degree 2 years in France and get the French degree, which is again approved and stamped by the Ministry of Education. And they'll get actually a dual degree because they'll get the French one and the Indian one. So we're opening opportunities. And I think it's when you're young, then you can take these opportunities.
Which is a very, very important point that you bring up. Just about 2-3 days ago, I think they announced this. Maybe I saw this on LinkedIn. I'm not entirely sure where I saw this. About 9 UK universities have approved campuses that they're building in the country. And I think this is just the start of something larger, right? I mean, as a few years ago, you had this in small operations like STA Bocconi. Some other places had tried this at a very small scale. But it seems now that the scale of this is getting large. And there is an Indian audience that's warming up to this to this program. Right? There is a lot of people who would want an international education while sitting in the country for various reasons and have that choice that, after 2 years, I can continue my undergrad in France. And as I take it, it's been enormously successful for you because you've had 1,200 students, I think, in Africa. You've already done this model in a few places.
Absolutely, yeah. But you talked about India and the demand. It's just like demography, right? There is a younger generation coming to an age which is I'm going to get a higher education degree because if I want to participate in the acceleration of the development of India, I need to get the degree. And I think there are about 30 million students right now in India.
I have actually lost count.
And I think it's going to double in the next few years. And how do you get that, basically? How do you do that if you don't have the infrastructure, the universities, the schools to actually handle that? That's why, some of these UK universities are coming here. And that's why we, a French business school, we want to be one of the first, if not the first, French business school to start partnering with our Indian colleagues here to offer that possibility to these Indian students to actually, first study, second study a good level within an excellent Indian university with an excellent French partner, and then have the opportunity to conclude and finish their studies as well in France.
So, that personally is my favorite part. And I might get the dates wrong for this, but back in 91, there was this whole concept of liberalization that happened in India. And what that brings actually is healthy competition into the country. So you're going to see a lot of players who've been, I won't say abusing the system, but who've been subpar at the quality that they should have been delivering, now threatened by the presence of a KEDGE in the country because, you bring excellence in quality, you bring excellence in academic delivery, or you have the rankings for it, you have the accreditations for it. So I am personally extremely excited to see that this is happening. And I'm even more excited to see that there are a lot of Indian students are taking up to it. One of the first apprehensions that we had when we were kind of bringing this in was, is it going to be easy? Is it going to be, convincing someone of a French business school in India? It takes a while. And we're very, 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 I guess, excited by the last 6 months where we saw how quickly people took to it, right? And how great this has become. Kind of leads me to my last 2 major questions before we get into rapid fire. The first is there's a very interesting selection of programs that you have at KEDGE, both at the master's space and the undergraduate space. Obviously, only business focused. There's marketing, there's finance, there's supply chain, there's luxury management, sports management, there's wine tasting.
Well, first it's historic. I take supply chain, for example. We said it earlier, KEDGE was born in Bordeaux and Marseille. There are 2 harbors in France. They are open to the world. Marseille to Africa, North Africa, and Middle East, and then Bordeaux is open to the Americas as well as to Africa. And this is where supply chain, if you want, started, right? It's actually trading, and then it moves to logistics, and then it moves to the whole supply chain. And we have these expertises. Historically, for example, being based in Bordeaux gives us an expertise in the whole wine, hospitality, luxury experience management. Being in Marseille, it gives us also some expertise on the health management business, for example.
Health management.
Yeah,
That's
so
an interesting
that's
one.
why we are promoting these programs, and this is why putting emphasis on the programs. Then on marketing, we have very good professors on marketing, but they're even better when we start to talk about luxury marketing. On finance, for example, one of our strengths is on green finance and sustainable finance, and that's what we are promoting as well. So it all starts with who your professors are, what your faculty is based on, what are the strengths of your faculty, where you're good at research, because I was saying it earlier, research feeds the teaching and
Absolutely.
feeds,
We were
all the
talking last night
programs.
about that, yeah.
Exactly. So this is research feeds the program, and the programs are based on our own expertises.
So it's safe to assume that a lot of the teaching, the curriculum that KEDGE kind of pulls at the UG and PG level is a function of the research that your 200, 250 professors
Correct.
are doing and what you learn from
Absolutely.
industry.
Yeah.
I also came to understand last night that you work very closely with industry partners
Yes.
to bring project work in, to consult for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've got about 300 partners that are, either like the largest companies in France, but also smaller local enterprises in Bordeaux, in Marseille. And then we also have like even smaller businesses. We are very much, into the startup world as well. We have incubators. So that whole ecosystem of all the different companies we work with is super important because we rely on them to tell us what the needs are so that we can develop programs based on their needs, specifically also for executive education, for example. But that network and that, large group of corporations is also the group we can count on for placement, for internships, of course, but for the first job of our
This is
students
also in
as well.
France.
This is in France, but a lot of them are also global or international companies. So we can have placements abroad as well. Actually, about 20% of our students have their first job experience abroad.
Very interesting. See, I think this is a part that, again, it's my personal opinion, that I feel is a little missing in India in the management space, is that there is a direct correlation between an industry need that you define through your research and through your various projects that you do with them that trickles down into a curriculum and into a program. A lot of the business schools that we see in India, and I'm not saying this lightly when I put this, but almost 99% of all business schools teach the same things. It hasn't changed. It's not going to change. Very few innovative business schools, JAGSoM being one of them, because I'm very proud of that over there, actually make the effort to bring in that change and say, industry's changing, times are changing. Let's work with the corporate. Let's understand what problems are.
I'll tell you
out
two
there.
things on that perspective. One is that is subject to a continuous improvement process. So every year we check the curriculum and we ensure that it fits the needs of the companies. So we have company HR people, strategy directors and so on, attending these continuous improvement meetings every year and telling us, yes, this is what we expect, or this is what you should be changing, right? And I'd say the second thing, which for me is extremely important as well, is you can't innovate in your curriculums and programs just counting on yourselves.
You have to get external stakeholders.
You have to get external stakeholders. And in the end, when you think about what our job is to produce the best competencies and skills to companies.
And attitude.
And attitude.
And attitude is absolutely important.
But it's part of the skills because you've got the hard and the soft skills. Who our customers are? They're not our students. They are the companies that we will provide students to when they get the degrees. You can't run an education activity without understanding what the needs of the companies are.
That is very true.
Essential.
All right, Alex. So we talked a lot about, KEDGE, its presence in India, how it adds value to a learner. I think a burning question that a lot of people might have about KEDGE at this point, and honestly, so do I at this point, is what are the typical career outcomes that you see with a KEDGE graduate in terms of profession, in terms of career path? It's basic things like how many become entrepreneurs, how many move on to jobs, what kind of jobs do they do? Take us through that so people kind of.
Yeah, it's a fundamental question because in the end, this is what we are.
That's the ROI
right?
everyone's looking for.
Exactly. So the first thing is we've got a 90% placement rate. So all students after their studies, after they get the degrees, in 90% of the cases, they have a job within 6 months. With a decent salary, by the way. So in France, nothing to do with what we can find here in India. The average salary is around 50,000 euro for a master in management level. But you've got some specialized masters, they could go up to 65.
That's really nice.
Jobs like any kind of jobs, depending as well on what they've studied, right? So supply chain go to supply chain, marketing to marketing, and so on. A lot go to consultancy.
A lot of consultants that come out?
Yeah. Not enough entrepreneurs in my mind, but few. Like we have roughly 10% entrepreneurs, which is good, and we encourage that. So we've got incubators to welcome our entrepreneurs. When you think in numbers, actually, it's quite big because we've got 4,500 students coming out of KEDGE every year. So it's close to 400 entrepreneurs every year, right? So it's not bad. And I'd say, when you think career progression, where quickly you get into a manager's role, because this is what we look for as well. So 3-4 years, you get to manager's role with small teams, and then, directors, senior director levels, VPs, running businesses, running, subsidiaries of large worldwide corporations, being members of boards and so on and so forth. So this is typically the kind of path you get. We've got 90,000 alumni. And again, a big number.
That's a huge number.
And some really great careers. But we'll probably need to spend more time on trying to give you a few examples. But some of them are really, really good examples.
19,000 alumni with a 90% placement rate, an average salary of 50,000 euros is a great deal.
Yeah.
Would you, this is very off the back of your hand, calculation. And I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this also. Would you see a lot of the people who are joining KEDGE are career seekers who are trying to build a professional career? Or do you see a lot of them that are entrepreneurs and trying to build their own path?
I think a lot are entrepreneurs, actually. They express it when they join KEDGE. 50%, 50, of the students joining KEDGE are saying, I want to be an entrepreneur at some point. So probably not their first job, their second job, but at some point they will get into entrepreneurship.
So there's preparation. There's preparation for I'm doing this degree because I might need some corporate experience. I might want to understand how the world works, but the final goal is for me to actually build my own business or build my own outfit. Fair enough. I only say this because the students that have joined the program that we have right now, about 30 to 40% of them are looking at an aspiration of learning how to build a business with this path. So it's very in line with what you said right now, that a lot of students who take up this program, yes, they have the guarantee of a good job, just given that you're a very highly ranked school. Not a guarantee, but they have the best preparation.
Yeah, but it's just one step.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately what they want is run their own business.
Yeah, ultimately what most of them want today is actually to run their own business. And you can see that in the economy, right? A lot of people are now moving towards the idea of running their own shop. Risk-taking is increasing, the appetite for people's success.
And that's the beauty of a super fast developing economy, like you are already experiencing today in India.
So that was one of the larger reasons for this partnership. We felt like giving students the global exposure while also being exposed to an Indian education is very important. And this is one of the very few partnerships where students get a dual degree. Not a lot of partnerships where this happens. Typically, even if you look at business schools, the most common set of programs you see is an exchange, a semester exchange. But here you are now an alumni of 2 schools.
Exactly.
Right, which is a very, very big value add in today's world. 19,000 alumni of your side.
Making our partnership unique, right?
Absolutely. That's why I'm going to hold on to it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So as we move to the end, a lot of our students who have been as part of this program and are with us at this point have had questions for you. We tried to cut them down to a rapid fire question round. Some of these questions are gimmicky. Some of these questions are very profound. And some of these questions, I feel like students just wrote them because they wanted to give a question. So I'm going to pick some of the questions that our students asked. I'm going to ask you the hard one first because I find this question very interesting. What keeps you up at night about higher education, Alex?
Wow.
A student asked that, not me. A student asked that.
If I were to say, what makes me happy during the day and not keeping me up at night is when I see smiles on my student faces, on the campuses, when I see that they succeed, when I see that they come back after 2-3 years, after 10 years, after 15 years, right? They come back and they keep saying, we had a very special experience at KEDGE. That makes me happy, right?
And good offer letters.
Absolutely.
And good offer letters. That's an important one. Here's another interesting one that I think some of our students had for you before I get to the fun ones. This is an interesting one. How do you measure student success? Whoever asked this question from our cohort, congratulations. You've asked some really deep and profound questions. But how do you measure student success?
Well, we were talking about placement earlier, right?
Apart from that, are there any other factors you look at?
Yeah, one way of looking at whether our students are successful or not is their presence in the media.
The presence in the media.
Yeah, and we measure that either social network or press or even TV, radio. When we hear names that we know are names of KEDGEs, of course, that makes us extremely proud, and we believe that we're successful.
Very interesting. See, here's one place where there might be a slight difference of how we look at things. When we look at student success, and this is our philosophy as a whole, the outcome is just as important as the whole experience. So one of the things that we personally like looking at as students is the holistic nature of development that's happened to them, the increase in their social skills, the ability for them to be able to critically think through problems. At the end of the day, though, all of that translates to exactly what you said, which is what is the real world outcome.
I think we do
like
as well. We measure during the years they are at KEDGE, we measure their satisfaction. Right? So every year there is a survey coming out. 85% of them are telling us that they like the experience at KEDGE, right? So it's a high rate.
That's an excellent. That's.
But it's not the highest, so we want to carry on.
And I think that's the attitude that sets KEDGE apart, because I know of a lot of my friends who went to college in India who did not think the experience was that great. So even if I spoke to 2 friends of mine or 3 friends of mine, and even one of them said that satisfaction level is much lower than what a student at KEDGE would be getting, and it's also something we've heard from our cohorts. I think a lot of the students who have gone down to KEDGE have told us it's been a great experience. We thought that French might be a problem, but they pick it up in about 6 months, which is an interesting place. Okay, I've got 2 last questions for you, and this is kind of moving more towards the funny side. I'm just going to scrap the serious ones. Indian food or French food? That's a hard one, Alex, because you told me something last night. And I don't know if you're going to fess that up in the public or no.
So I love Indian food.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
What's your favorite kind of Indian food?
The one I prefer, I love the chicken biryani.
You're not the only one. And so most people in this room...
And I love papadums as well. But I love the idea of mixing food. So I'm kind of very international in the food I eat at home. Of course, we've got French cheese, but we eat Indian.
My favorite is camembert. Camembert. I love that thing.
Yeah, very melty.
I love that.
Love it as well. Melty, but smelly.
That's why I love it. I also like blue cheese.
Blue cheese
exactly
as well.
For that same reason.
Yeah,
it's so good. It's so good. So we have Alex who loves Indian food more than French food.
Yes, absolutely.
That's important to note. And a last question before we call this an end is, what is one misconception that you think we Indians have about France? I mean, you just debunked many today, but what do you think is the biggest one that we have?
The thing, I don't know whether you know France or not in the end. And that's probably the misconception in itself. Maybe the fact that France is a bit messy, right? And probably the French are also, a bit arrogant, and but we're not. We
I
love
don't think
people.
that about you at all. You're so nice.
No, but okay, fine. That's you and I, right? So, but across the globe, that's essentially what you hear. But just come to France, experience it, and you'll see it's very different.
Yeah, I can second what Alex is saying because I've been there a few times now, and the people are absolute gems over there. I have not met a snobby. I hope we Indians are the same
Oh, even better
for
than
you.
us.
Yeah, we are known for our hospitality.
That's why I'm coming here that often. I love it.
Cool. So I think we've had a great session.
Absolutely.
Alex, thank you so much
Pranav.
for your time.
You're
Just
welcome.
for some people here, I mean, we have partnered very deeply with KEDGE. We run a whole gamut of programs with them. We do the 1+1 dual degree global launchpad. We do the bachelor's program BBA in Vijaybhoomi University. Now we're opening a new set of master's programs on sports management and luxury at Vijaybhoomi University. So hopefully, Alex, we'll have many more of these.
Of
And
course.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Pranav. Thank you. See you guys.